Good afternoon, everyone. With a little bit of sauti. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so I think I'll start with telling you what we do at ARC. ARC is ARK, the way you know Noah's Ark. And it stands for Africa Renewables Katalyst. And in layman terms, we export green electricity. And that sounds odd or weird. But you who is seated in this room, if you consume green electricity, and green electricity comes from solar, wind, hydro, or biomass, there is a mzungu somewhere. There is a mzungu somewhere who has been told by their corporate ESG sustainability manager, or even their government, that they must pay you. The word is actually compensate you for using that green energy. Why? Because they cannot do that wherever they come from. So think about a country like Germany, or even better yet, think about China. It has the highest of emissions. They don't have land where they can utilize solar. They don't have rivers like we do in Africa. And they have so many emissions within their ecosystem. So now what does the China government do? The China government says, you will have to reduce your emissions by a must. And the country or the company goes, now how will we do this? Now it goes on and says or tells them, you're going to pay those who already do that for you. And it is all of you in this room. As we consume this electricity here, our grid is 92% green, meaning 92% from solar, hydro, and geothermal. And now we can get compensated for the same. So what ARC does is we've built the platform where this can happen seamlessly. You consume your green energy, you come to us, and we help that Mzungu, that company, that Google company, who have a lot of emissions, to in fact pay you for your good work. Now, to me, that sounds really exciting and cool. I don't know about you, but it did not start there. In fact, it started when I was a comrade. I'm still a comrade, just like you, wherever you guys are seated right now. That is where I started. So I have two stories for you. I'd say stories of two African icons. One, his story is out there, and he's done amazing stuff. His name is William Kamkwamba. How many know of William Kamkwamba? Okay, I'll tell you about William. And then two, it's my story because I believe I'm an African icon. And I hope today you'll also believe the same. Now, these two stories, before I get to them, I'll ask a question. How many run small businesses here? Nozanga Lollipop. There's someone yesterday I saw selling ice pops. How many of us do that? Very nice. How to? Just those ones. Well, you and I are very similar. In my campus days, and nimesikia mtu ako na mjengo or something like that, I also used to do the same. But now mine was from a necessities point of view. Yeah? I need a specific shoe. I want to get it, and I know I can get it somewhere cheaper. So I go to Kamkunji. I don't know how many of you know Kamkunji, but if viatu yote mmevaa hapa, trust you me, its first stop was Kamkunji. Then it met people like us who bought it, and then we came and resold it to you here in Taita at a very huge markup. So I used to go buy shoes. Your Air Force, you buy it at 3,000. I know where I can get it at 1,200 shillings. Then I come and sell it to you at 3,500. Very good money. And I go home very happy. So all of you here who are trying to sell Mabuyu, ice pops, that is exactly where I was. I pursued mathematics and computer science in JKUAT. I'm still a JKUAT comrade. And as I was pursuing this degree, I said I will not do it without money in my pocket. So I had this drive constantly. If it is not passing the degree, at least let me have money. And because, especially in JKUAT, you'll come to class, and your classmate will leave, and he'll get into his Mark X. So sit down, unashanga, na tunasoma tu na hawa watu. Then number 2, the same person, he beats you in cards, he beats you in answering questions in class. So the question, and back to someone who was speaking about unafanya 1, 2, 3 things, is kwani yako na hours ngapi kwa siku? Anyway, there where you are at is exactly where you need to be to start everything. Because now for me, beyond just selling this, I came across some very interesting people or a platform. The first one was Moringa School. How many have heard about Moringa School? Very good. So Moringa School is a tech-based school. They give you access to technology, you learn from it, you get equipped, and then you get some jobs. And then 2 was now Green Labs. But I'll get to my story. I told you I'll tell you about William Kamkwamba. So William Kamkwamba, he's a he comes from Malawi. I don't know what to say, Malawian, yeah? He comes from Malawi. And this dude, due to climate change, he, first of all, doesn't have money to go to school. Why? Their family relies on farming. So drought imekuja, and now the parents don't have money to pay for tuition. So he's now a school dropout in primary school. Number 2, William actually loves reading. So unlike many of us, okay, let me speak for myself, I just do it because my mom told me I have a brain for it. He loved reading. And William, alingangana sana kwenda shule. And then he stumbled upon a book. I think it's Energy Access or something. He read from it. This William utilized the tools that were available to him, and he created a wind turbine. How many of us understand what a wind turbine is? Show of hands. A wind turbine. It harnesses upepo and then converts it into electricity. He built a wind turbine by his own self, using bicycle spare parts and mbao. And then he supplied electricity to his rural community. And then he now creates water from the same tool. To me, that is a very interesting person who, despite his challenges, number 1, he comes from a poor background. Number 2, he's been told you won't go to school, and it's because he can't afford. And when you go, you watch more of his story or you read it, you'll find that at some point he used to sneak in school until he was busted. And he tried to harness electricity from a dynamo, zile za baiskeli, if you know your wheel turns and then you have light. And whatever he did there at a very small scale, he said, I'll use this knowledge I have and I'll create a wind turbine by himself. If you do Netflix and chill, as Manda had said, his movie is actually on Netflix. It's called The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. I'd encourage you to go and watch it. And then you see that you're in fact better off than William. It's only that you've not yet activated your mind to see possibilities instead of impossibilities. Now let's come back to my story. So I'm done with Moringa, and there's an opportunity at hand given to me. And the opportunity is Green Labs. At that time, it was just a simple hackathon, and I remember Karen asking me, now this idea that you have, if you're given the time and the place to work on it, will you actually put effort for it? And I said yes. But it is not that led me into really putting the effort. It was my other mentor, his name is Louis Wajea. And he told me, when I was in campus, I in fact went to attachment in my own company. I was like, that sounds really, really interesting. What do you mean you go to attachment in your own company? I'm thinking I want to go to Microsoft. I want to go to Google. I want to go to Basigo right now or Octavia Carbon. Yeah, big companies. And he tells me he went to attachment in his own company. That there sparked something very new and very foreign to me. Some interesting curiosity of how do you do that? How do you get to that? Fast forward, I got into the program Green Labs. I was seriously crafted because it first started with breaking down walls in your head. And when I say world, it's the fact that, I can't do this because I don't have this. They first start with that. Who told you? Who told you you can't do this because you don't have this? Then they go to another one. They show you that you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And slowly by slowly, with the access to mentors, including Manda, Chela, even Sela herself, the CEO of JLA, I was equipped. And in that equipping, I got transformed, because that's the most valuable thing you'll draw from Green Labs, a transformation of how you look at things, how you reason at things, how you question things. And after that, I emerged out of it with a startup, which is now ARC. And ARC, in itself and its journey, it's also a very beautiful story, because in that niche and the way I'm telling you, export electricity, the word to use is we are pioneering that solution here in Kenya. In fact, I dare say, in Africa. So first of those doing something that not so many people know about. And when I look back, I ask myself, did I really know I could do this? No, I was just like you, seated there. But I didn't know 2-3 years later, I'd be here speaking to you. In the activation of my mindsets, we eventually graduated from Green Labs with a startup. And these two young dudes who relentlessly stick to this idea, without knowing what will become, just found themselves in the space, which is a very niche space, not so many people. We've become industry leaders, so being called at forums, even global ones, to speak, and even receiving funding. So I want you to picture this. The comrade who used to sell shoes, less than 2 years later, is mobilizing at least $70,000 in funding for his green startup. Guys, it is very possible. I was seated just like you. I'm standing here, no different than you. I'm in fact only 23 years old. I am not yet a graduate from JKUAT, but I'm still running this show. You know why? Because of that transformation. So, as I wrap up my story, today, I have interns who we've studied with in the same class. Today, I've hired people that I never thought I'd ever speak to, simply because I have a startup. Today, I have flown to at least 5 African countries that I never thought I'd do. And this happened 2 years ago when I decided, you know what, I'm going to join this Green Labs, and let's see it's going to take me to. I'm going to listen to these mentors. What is this that they tell me I can do that I don't see I can? What is this that they see in me that I don't yet see in myself? I tell you for a fact, if you ask yourself these questions today, if you in fact register for this, even before you're told why you should, 2-3 years from now, you'll be here speaking to all of us, telling the same story. Because I am not yet a graduate. I'm only 23 years old. But I've done those things. It's not luck, no, it's determination, and with the right resources. So guys, I invite you to activate your minds. Asanteni sana.
I am so proud of this young man. You have no idea. There's so many memories that were flooding my mind as you were just sharing that, because I could tell so many stories about Munene. But one of the things that's just interesting is we've never actually sat on a panel together, but this is amazing. But I think for me, it's the fact that we always told you guys, just watch this space. In a very short time, you're the ones who will be leading the narrative, and it's become a reality. So thank you so much for putting in the work. There's many things that we can cover in the conversation, and we will also be inviting questions from you. So if you have questions, please raise your hand. There'll be a mic roving who has a mic. But I will start with just something simple. Let's go back to your experience selling shoes versus now your experience running the startup, which you've only told just a small part of the story. What is it that you understand about entrepreneurship now that is different from when you were previously just, selling shoes in that sense?
Okay, and that's a very beautiful question. So I'll start with why I sold shoes. It was very simple. I needed to make profit. And yeah, that was the main goal. To the point, I actually built my business acumen to some point. So I look at you, you look like you'd afford this shoe. Or you look like you have more money. So instead of selling the shoe to you at 5,000, and it goes for 5,000, I actually sell it to you at 7,000 because more profit. So you can see how profit-driven I was. And I had that money, which a story for another day was not so good at that time. Now, for why I do what I do at ARC, at the core of what I do at ARC is impact. And that's now how I look at entrepreneurship. Because as I even joined the program, which is quite interesting, I thought nimetoka kwa block. See those programs you get in and then you see this is a very prestigious program. They'll be giving me stipend of like 60,000 shillings a month. Man, my life is set. You meet Chela at the door and she's like, psych, Abu, please throw that mentality out the door. The money will come. So impact right now for me is the key difference in how we run our business at ARC. Because our North Star at ARC is centered around 600 million. 600 million is the figure of how many brothers and sisters in Africa that don't have the privilege of electricity as you do. So you have the privilege of, in fact, cheating in your exams with ChatGPT. You have a similar brother or sister somewhere here in this Kenya who doesn't know what nightlife looks with electricity. So those 600 million people are exactly what forges the decisions, the paths, the thinking, the strategy at ARC, thinking about them and how we get electricity to them. And then we've realized, kumbe, the profit comes afterwards. So yeah.
And that's, I think, an important thing to double click on, which is when we are focusing on entrepreneurship within Jacob's Ladder, we're looking at green entrepreneurship, but green could mean many things. We're looking at, yes, environmental protection, we're looking at low carbon and a better resource utilization, we're looking at social inclusivity, etc. But you find that beyond what you do for the environment, you're actually uplifting people's lives, which is very important. And one of the things that we cover in terms of the mindsets is stewardship, which I know you've been a major proponent for, which I won't go into that for now, but if you'd like to learn more, please join us. But I'd like to go into how have you actually managed to balance, if I could use that word, everything. You have school, you have your startup, and because I know you wear many other hats. You volunteer in places, etc. How has that worked? And beyond that, have there been other challenges that you have faced in your journey of entrepreneurship?
Great. So I'll answer this in relation to something she asked me while we were sitting here. After Mwalimu of Mjengo said, how do you volunteer and you're looking for money and you're studying and all these things. And I was thinking in a similar way until I met Chela and Louis. And there is something called an access mindset. So I'll give you some nuggets of Green Labs by telling you about access mindset. So access mindset is when you look at things without impossibilities, yeah? You can do 1, 2, 3 things, or you can achieve 1, 2, 3 things without starting with the Achilles of, I have to wait, that's one, or I can't do, or I need this to do this. So with adopting or practicing an access mindset, it unlocked several things about myself and how I look at things. So at some point, they'd even tell me, please, Munene, you have enough on your plate. stop there first. Let's clear these ones out. Because within the access mindset, 24 hours is a lot of time. And Amanda has said, when you start throwing yourself out at these things, you'll realize how much time you have and how much time you waste. So in how I get to do all these things and balance them, one is adopting that kind of mindset that, in fact, I don't need 8 legs or hands to do all these things. I just need to say or to focus in my mind that it's possible. And then once it starts here in the mind, these are the things, they structure themselves in a beautiful way. It's sometimes very difficult to explain. 2, I really know how to latch on to mentors, and she can testify. I will ring you even at 2 a.m. as long as you've given me that door. I will not knock, I'll kick the door open. Hello, I am crashing out, I am burning out. I don't know how to do this and this, so what do I do about it? And I've seen how much those who have gone ahead of you are willing to pull you up to where they are. And it's been very instrumental, even in the things that I've been able to do or throw myself into. So, yeah.
I can testify you've been one of those who really took that word of immerse yourself and really immersed yourself. And as you were speaking earlier, I was actually thinking about some of the early days and your communication, how you have actually grown there. But it's also because you kept throwing yourself and you were willing to take back, feedback and grow from that and become what you are today. And as you're speaking about access, I think there are many stories we could bring out. We probably do not have the time for all of it. But when I think about you and your cohort mates, some of especially your experiences around traveling to other towns, traveling to other countries, etc. And a lot of your stories, I can pick out that thing of it seemed impossible, but there was always a way if you put yourself out there, whether it was getting your passport, whether it was, finding people in strategic places who are, just the people who had the information you needed, or sleeping in strangers' homes at some point. I mean, it sounds crazy, but we don't know how much help there is around. We live in an amazing continent of Africa, and people have such beautiful hearts and are willing to lend a helping hand. So you never know how much there is if you don't actually take that opportunity. So well done for all that. And I think I want to just double click a bit more about your Green Labs experience. What are some of the things that you can highlight? I know you spoke about transformation, but in addition to that, what are some of the things that you can say the Green Labs journey or Green Labs program helped you in your entrepreneurship process?
Beyond the transformation aspect, I think brings you back to identity. So there's a lot of you have to understand first who you are and start looking at what you can be before you even start that business. And I remember even the morphing of Rafiki Carbon into ARC, a lot of, when I put them aside of each other, there is a lot of, this was Munene, and this is the new Munene. So there was a lot of identity sculpting. And it is through the mentors and the questions they ask you and how much they challenge your mind. So there was identity. Then 2, there was time management. You won't show up to Green Labs late. You'll answer questions. Why are you late? You won't submit your assignments late, you'll answer questions. And these are not the questions of usirudie tena, no. They are questions of actually finding out deeply what is it that is behind you that tells you this assignment is not important, or that other things precede this, and many other things. And then finally there is how you carry yourself. Because a transition from Green Labs into another program, now where we got our pre-seed funding or our first angel investment, there was an identifier or a marker between my co-founder and I and the rest of the other people in that program. Things like showing up to a meeting and having your camera on, these are very small, minute things that in Green Labs are compulsory, and then you realize you do them now because of that culture, and then you go to other programs, and they're the very thing that in fact gives you 1,500,000 US dollars because of being a good steward or being a good student. So, yeah.
So basically setting you up in that sense.
Yes.
I think I want to also highlight one other thing that I know tends to be very challenging for many young people, but if you can overcome this, then your journey to entrepreneurship or any other journey that you go into will be that much easier, which is we send you a lot to market. I know in their cohort, it's the one place that many people really struggle. I mean, all cohorts we have had, really. It's the one place that people really struggle with, which is speaking to customers or potential customers, getting to understand them, getting to really empathize with what they're experiencing. But we walk with you in that journey. And I can guarantee you, if you don't manage to really engage with customers, the rest of your entrepreneurial journey will become very challenging. And not just entrepreneurial, even when you get to if you are working for another organization, appreciating or understanding the people that you're serving is very critical to actually succeeding as an organization. And that's one of the things that we are very keen on in the very early stages. So whatever, butterflies you may have, we've been there, we will share with you our experiences, we will help you, walk through that. But if you do it well, I guarantee anything else you work on thereafter, whether it's the startup you come with or any other, you will be successful. So that's something to have in mind. I think the last thing before we open for more questions is speak to me about the aspect of community. I know I'm a bit biased if I comment on that, because I will say that the Green Labs community is really amazing and really strong, but speak to me about community in that regard from your perspective and what that has done for you as an entrepreneur.
Okay, community. I think one, and this goes beyond just Green Labs, there is a joke at JLA's office that by the way, Munene just look for a desk there. And it's because of the JLA community and Green Labs. But beyond that, you see the way you can get somewhere. No, let me say it this way. Imagine a tortoise on a tree. That's very odd, because how would a tortoise get on a tree, right? That is me every single instance I get to a global stage or I pitch somewhere. It's a tortoise on a tree. And the only way a tortoise can get on a tree if someone put it there. So community for me is those shoulders and hands we've literally had to step on to get to the next stage. Community for me represents a man in Uganda, completely don't even know his whereabouts right now, who allowed me to sleep in his house overnight after getting to a town deep in Uganda called Purongo for a case study. So I get there at 3 a.m. He's supposed to help me get to the town. And then we find that there are no motorbikes at 3 a.m. And then he says, you know what, my Kenyan man, come, you'll sleep at my place. And he welcomes me, he hosts me, he wakes me up the following morning, he even guides me to where I need to go. That is community for me. Community is meeting someone random, and because you asked a very interesting question, they actually guide you into the very niche that we needed, because that is our journey. Went to ACS, lined up to ask a question just the way you people are asking questions, and kudos to those who are asking questions. It will really take you far. And because I asked a specific question, someone pulls me in and says, you know what, by the way, Kenya is not yet a participating country in these markets. But as of January 2024, and this is in 2023 around September, they might be. If it does not in January, it will take some time, but you guys are ahead of the curve. That there is a solid rubber stamp into the vision and into the direction you're going. That to me is community, because they didn't have to tell me that, but they went on and they told me that. And we've seen a lot more, and there are a lot more stories, especially for ARC in that regard. The final example, I think, would be they organize an event, Green Skillings Workshop, and that's where we meet the next pillar of where we get our funding, because it's Shivani from the Green Skills Workshop that got us into BFA, and then from there we got the funding, which was also a very interesting story, so community.
And maybe just to say this, if you do eventually join Green Labs, and I'll share a bit more about that at the end, you are joining this community. There are young people like you who have gone ahead, and believe me when I say they are more than willing. They have gotten to a place where they have understood that entrepreneurship is not just about creating profit for yourself, but ensuring the ecosystem is all enriched, everyone in the ecosystem. And everyone in all the cohorts, both in Kenya and in Nigeria, are more than willing to actually help. And we've seen a lot of partnerships amongst cohorts. He's partnering with someone else in the cohort that came after him. Sometimes people in that cohort, they really genuinely help each other. That's a community that you will have access to, in addition to ourselves as mentors and the wider GLA network. I could keep talking about this because there are many examples I could bring up, but let me leave it at that. So I now welcome questions from you before we wrap up here. Anything that you want to ask? I think there's a lady here in green.
My full names are Caleb Yegon, third-year student pursuing Bachelor of Education, Arts. Okay, I agree with Madam Boss, Karen. You have touched about business idea and changing that business idea into a business. So I have one question to Brian. There's this project of planting trees in our country. Suppose we as citizens in our country invest, or as a country invest in that project of planting seeds. How does Green Lab create job market in our country? That is my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before the next person wakes up, I have a question. Okay, right after her.
Good afternoon. I am Gakenya, a fourth-year student pursuing bachelor's degree in education science. And my question is more to Chelagat and the whole organization, and also a question to Munene. So to Munene, what is the difference between your ARC and REREC? And then the question to Chelagat is, how do you fit into be a member of Green Labs? So from Munene's story, I've heard that he started he's a whole CEO and all that. But from Dr. Christine's talk earlier, she said it's about creation, innovation, and conservation and all that. So if someone is into things like recreating waste products, like glasses, the ones for alcohol glasses, and cutting them into decors and making glasses, all that. It's not a new concept, it has been happening, but someone has put the work into learning the skill and actually being an entrepreneur and putting it into work. So does that person fit into joining the Green Labs, or you need something new that's like something that has never existed before? Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jacinta, taking a Bachelor of Science Information Technology, first year student. My question to you, Mr. Brian, is before your idea became a practical out there, it was in your head. So how are you able to explain it to your mentors so that they get your idea and were able to guide you in the right form? So how did you say, how did you put your message out there? Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Simiyu Max, undergraduate at second year, education science. My question is to you, Munene. You have said that you yourself, you began as a small, you sell shoes. It means that in order to become a member of Green Lab, you must have something you are doing or an innovation that you have invented from your own skills. So is it me, Maxwell, I'm starting from zero. Is it necessary that I suppose have something or an innovation in order for me to join your program? Or mine is just to activate my mind and join your program? Thank you.
All right, let's answer those, and then I'll come for one more round. And like I said, we are still available. We can answer questions even beyond this session, because I know Manda and Co need us to release you soon. So you can start off. I think a lot of these questions were directed at you, so you can respond to them. If you don't remember, I can remind you.
Yeah. So I think the first question, I'm not sure if I got it, and you could correct me. It goes, or I've summarized it to, how does Green Labs activate you?
I think it was, how can tree planting create jobs? I think that's what I was getting from the question. If we...
Okay. I can repeat again the question. Okay. As you, I have... the question went like this. As the country, there's this project in our country of planting seeds. Now, as an ACT or as Green Lab team, how does that project create job market in our country? That is the question. And another question. Okay.
Kindly.
Okay. So how does Green Labs tap into such a project? Or how does that project then create jobs? Yeah. So first, because you asked how does Green Labs create jobs, Green Labs invests in you who wants to create jobs, their time, their effort, nurturing, mentorship, and then you go forth and create jobs. So that's what Green Labs does. How tree planting can create jobs, I mean, very many avenues. In fact, I'll start with my personal favorite. There's an innovator called Joseph Nguthiru. They they repurpose water hyacinth, which is an invasive weed. They harvest it, they process it, and they convert that into single plastic use. Biodegradable, yes, biodegradable plastic. And that plastic is used for every tree seedling that is in that project. So when you look at Joseph, for example, he's an innovator. If he went through Green Labs, they'd equip him with skills to unlock more of that. And then that company, which is called HirePark, you can go check it out, unlocks opportunities of employment by those who harvest the water hyacinth, the community that goes to do the planting, those who package all those bags and everything. So that's one. Two, tree planting is not the correct term, it's tree growing, meaning once you have the trees planted, there's someone who needs to take care of them. Another opportunity for employment or another green job right there. So there are so many around, but I'd encourage you to not look at this from a project perspective, more so look at it from what value will you be driving. So I understand the president wants, is it 15 billion trees? Yeah. And it's good, and that's a project on its own, but what do you bring to the table as value? Then that is what Green Labs takes and nurtures it to become a whole business that can employ people. Yeah.
All right, there's a question about the difference between ARC and REREC.
Oh yeah, and thank you for that question. So REREC distributes mini-grids in rural areas in Kenya. So what they do is they act as an EPC company, engineering, procuring, and construction company. So they find a rural area, they do a feasibility study, watahitaji stima inakaa kiwango gani, what is their social and economic activities. They set up that mini-grid for them, and then they go. So KPLC manages and runs it. Now what ARC does, in fact, KPLC is REREC is among the partners that we hoped to work with, because there are mini-grids now. Every energy that the community consumes, we utilize that data and we help them generate extra revenue through now connecting them with the Germans who want to offset their emissions through that mini-grid in REREC. Very soon, we'll become a REREC of our own. That's the plan. 600 million people is a very serious figure. So we actually hope to not just become REREC or KPLC, we hope to become a whole big thing that does each and everything for these 600 million people. So that's the difference between REREC and ARC. And obviously REREC is a whole governmental parastatal. This one is a youth-led organization. Yeah.
All right, we will jump the one question so that I can answer it with the last question that was asked. The other question to you was, how did you explain your idea to your mentors before it became a thing that you could talk about?
The how. You'd even be better to answer that question. If I could speak Kikuyu, if I could speak Kikuyu and Kikamba and all that, just to tell her my idea, I'd have done that. You don't have to think of how to tell your idea. You just tell it the best way you can. Because through that whole entire process, there was a boot camp. And within that boot camp, there were questions they used to ask. And there was mentorship already into how I'd pitch eventually. So what does this idea to you mean? You answer that question. They see that you haven't gotten clarity. They ask you those questions until you get the clarity. Why? You've already put yourself out there. So if you have an idea, write it the way it is in your mind, throw it out there. The moment you do, in fact, nobody will steal your idea. But you'll find people like Chela, you'll find people like I, who will help you refine, first of all, how you put it out there, and then to even how you're thinking about it. So there's no structured way of how to put out your idea, but there's the willingness of just throwing it out there as it is, even in your mind or on paper.
I think what I'll also add to what he's saying is, as JLA or Green Labs, we look at more than just your idea. Yes, that is important, but we look at more than that because we actually recognize that you're likely to actually pivot, which basically means you're likely to change as you go to market, as you find the reality on ground. His idea probably pivoted 2-3 times before it actually became what ARC was. And so I think the most important thing, okay, the idea is critical, but one of the more important things that we look at is a word that Sarah kept using. What was the one word Sarah used like 1,000,000 times when she was speaking? Who remembers? Do you remember? Kujituma. We look for that because we know entrepreneurship is more than just the idea that you have. It's the person that you are. And if you are the kind of person who will take initiative, who will, look at challenges and, not cower, those are things that we value and we look out for. And maybe I can begin to answer the question about how to become a member. I think that's what you use, and whether you need to have, something that you have worked on. I mean, when this guy came in, there's a whole story, but it's a story for another day. We'll do a documentary one day. We really are not looking for something that is fully well-crafted. We do have certain areas that we look at. I know Sarah mentioned some of the areas that you can be looking at, like food security, etc. I mean, the year that they came in, food security was one of the themes. But generally, anything in food systems, anything from production, logistics, distribution, etc. Use of waste is things we look at. Water waste management are critical pillars, renewable energy, drivers of these sectors like tech, like what he's doing, leveraging like unique markets. For him, it's the renewable energy, what do you call them, the IREX market or carbon credits, whichever one it is, but is actually delivering value to African communities are things that we would consider. So how would you become a part of that? Right now, if you scan the QR codes that are going to be available, you start the process like everyone else, going through a common course, which is basically just introducing you particularly to what would make most sense for you, given some of the things that Sarah spoke about, your passions, etc. Look at the green economy, you get to actually get a feel of, okay, here are all the sectors I could potentially take advantage of. Then we begin the journey of, exposing you to very practical tools that you can use to properly ideate. So we're actually going to provide you free resources to build your idea properly and to get to the point to where you asked, articulate your idea. We'll give you what we call ad-libs or templates, but we will also be looking at, are these just words you've thrown together? Is this just ChatGPT? We actually can tell, he can tell you the stories of when we would throw away their work if we notice it's ChatGPT work. Because what is most important is not that it's perfect, it's that we can see thinking, that we have actually spoken to customers, that when you actually go beyond this program, you're not just, it's not just about a certificate. We want you to be able to make money. And you can only make money when you truly understand your market and you're delivering value to your market. So we walk with you through that journey. Everyone is welcome, even if you do not want to be an entrepreneur eventually. Everyone is welcome to start that first phase. Right now it's open for them. They actually had to compete, but we made it free for everyone across Africa right now. But you do have to do well for you to then be considered to be admitted into the program further than that. And we'll be looking, yes, at your idea, but we'll be looking at whether you have, it's telling us something about your work, again, with the market. We'll be looking at you as an individual, and we'll consider a couple of factors which we will communicate ahead of time. And of course, your willingness to be incubated further and take you through the rest of the experience that he had. So the first phase is purely self-paced. If you want to do it for 2 months, you can do it for 2 months. If you want to do it for 2 years, you can do it for 2 years. You take whatever time that is, makes sense for you. However, we will have intakes at specific points in the year, and we'll keep communicating for those intakes, where you then go into a cohort where you then, we work together with you for a 6-month period to actually move your idea further and get you to first customer, first partner, first investor. So that's how you become a member, to use your word, or basically join the community. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to take them later. I'm not sure how much more time we have. Can we take one more round of questions? I'm so sorry, we cannot take more questions. But like I said, we're still here, we're available. If you want to speak with us, please do. Wish you all the best. And thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much.